Thank you for joining another one of TPI's webinar series. Today we are going to talk about Illustra LPR and how it integrates into Exacq VMS. This is Chloe Castle. I work for Timuron Partners. This is one of our webinar series. We do have a few more Exacq focused webinars coming up over the next couple months. We'll be sure to send out a follow-up email for those of you attending that if you wish to join on some of these other topics, you'll be aware of those dates coming up. Again, today is focused on Illustra LPR and how that integrates into Exacq VMS. And we've got James Goddard with Exacq, our technical sales manager, who is going to take us through this presentation. James, are you ready to go?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Amazing. Yep, the floor is all yours. I'll go ahead and monitor our chat and Q&A. So if any questions come up, please drop them in the chat. We'll cover them as we go, or we'll take a look at the end to make sure that no questions are missed. Again, thanks everybody for joining.
Okay, you guys see, Chloe, you can see the agenda slide here.
Yep, looks great.
All right. All right, so let me go ahead and get started. I know that this is scheduled for an hour. It's not going to take an hour, likely about half of that time. We like to keep these relatively brief, but still with a good amount of information. Before I get started, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is James Goddard. I am a sales engineer for Exacq Technologies. I have been with the company for almost 15 years now, and in September I've worked in their tech support department. I worked as a technical trainer traveling all over the country teaching the software, both the professional and enterprise levels of software. And then a few years back, I moved on to the sales team to augment the sales team with technical knowledge. I do product demos, I do presentations like this, I do troubleshooting, I travel around to customer sites and integrators as well. So today we're going to be talking about the LPR cameras from Illustra, and we have a little bit of an agenda here. Some of this is going to be PowerPoint. I will also show our Exacq Vision client here. I'll go ahead and show our Exacq Vision client as well a little bit later, but I'm going to lead through some of the things in the PowerPoint, cover some basics about the LPR cameras. And we're going to start with configuring the LPR cameras within the Illustra web interface, and then we'll move on to LPR integration into Exacq Vision, tools and resources that you can use, and then we'll end with, I have a couple of other things that are unrelated to LPR that I want to briefly talk about, but we'll save that towards the end of the presentation here. So the license plate recognition camera, this is maybe about a year old at this point. I'm trying to remember when these were actually released. I want to say about a year ago. But we have two license plate recognition cameras, two LPR cameras. We have a bullet, which is what everyone is usually used to when they think of an LPR cameras. And then, yes, you did read that right. That's a dome camera. We do have a dome version of this as well. So I know that's not as common, but we do have a dome LPR camera as well. They are of similar capabilities, similar resolutions. When I say similar, I mean the same, 5 megapixels. Consulting the data sheet, if you are really, really curious, there's not a huge amount of difference between the two. The only differences that I could find are that obviously the form factor, one's a bullet, one's a dome, so that kind of just depends on what you're looking for in that regard. The bullet requires a little bit more juice, but it still should be fine with a standard PoE switch, or most standard PoE switches, I believe. And then the dome requires slightly more illumination, but not by much. So they're very similar. It really kind of just boils down to which form factor you prefer. I know that most people are used to a bullet in an LPR camera, but we also have the option for a dome if that's more your bend as far as what you're looking for in an LPR camera. So these are the Pro Gen 4 LPR cameras, all-in-one AI LPR at the edge. It also includes the standard AI suite that comes with the Illustra Pro cameras, things like person detection, that kind of thing. It has all of that, but they're mostly known for their LPR capabilities. You have real-time intelligence and forensic searching, so we can search by plate tags if we have a plate tag we want to look for. Ideal for managing parking lots and monitoring sensitive areas. You'll see here in a little bit that you have the ability to do allow or deny lists, or alert, or maybe plate watch lists. If you're looking for a specific plate or certain plates that you want to be alerted to, you can certainly do that through the LPR web interface. designed for durability and ease of installation. So they are pretty easy to install, pretty standard camera. I've not installed them on a, an actual installation, but I've installed them for trade shows several times, and pretty straightforward. If you're used to installing cameras, this won't be anything, well, nothing to throw you for a loop here as far as actually mounting and installing the cameras. Camera placement is key. We do recommend you follow all recommended installation criteria. And so we've kind of given you a visual here. We want to make sure that these are ideal for, like I said, parking lots are kind of the most ideal place for parking lot management for these LPR cameras. And so you can see sort of the geometry as far as what angles of the cameras you need to have. So no more than 15 degrees offset from the center. And then 30 degrees is kind of the ideal when looking down at the camera, 30 degrees or less. If you're looking at sort of the angle that you want to position the camera as well, height as well as length from the LPR. And we'll kind of I'll show this a little bit later, what this looks like in the interface of Exacq Vision. We'll show the LPR camera and kind of what angle is sort of ideal there. We also have recommended camera settings. Now, what I don't remember, and I'll have to check this because it's been a little while since I've actually booted one of these up. We have recommended camera settings here. I don't know if these camera settings are defaulted already, if they're actually defaulted to this, or if you have to change it to these things. I can't remember. It's, like I said, it's been a little while since I've actually booted one of these up, but these are the recommended camera settings. Exposure profile, you want to have that set to license plate recognition medium. There's a high and low, kind of depends on what you're looking for, but medium is going to be what you want to use for 90% of installations. Exposure method, minimum exposure. I'm not going to read through all of these, but these, just know that these are the recommended settings, and these are all spelled out when you go to look at the LPR documentation that you can look at when you get the camera. This is all spelled out there. And of course, there's a caveat at the bottom. Your mileage may vary. Each installation may require tweaking of these settings to get the best results. So it just depends on what you're looking at. Some of the documentation goes into a little bit more detail with, various factors that might affect why you would want to change some of these. For example, if depending on the brightness of the area. I mean, hopefully that, it's pretty well illuminated, but there may be some things that you need to change based on if it's a more dimly lit, or maybe there's not a whole lot of natural light coming into that particular area. You might have to tweak some settings there, but these are the recommended camera settings for most installations that you would do with one of these LPR cameras. And these are going to be the same whether you're using the bullet camera or the dome camera. Like I said, the dome camera, they recommend maybe a little bit more lighting. Lux is the unit of measure there, but not by much. And it's almost negligible, really. So now you also have to enable LPR analytics. So if you are familiar with the regular analytics like person detection, object detection, that kind of thing, those settings are not on by default. You need to actually enable this in the LPR camera. So you have to actually go in under the analytics section. As you can see, there's face detection, AI object classification, all the other good stuff that's been around for a while. And then there's another section called, pretty obvious, license plate recognition. You have to enable it using the checkbox. And then this is also where you would upload or create custom lists of watch or VIP lists. So if you have certain cameras certain plates that you want to be alerted to, or you want to deny, or you want to allow, there are various reasons why you want to do that. We'll go into some of those. You can trigger certain alarms when certain types of plates are detected. But this is kind of the format of that. You've got plate and then list, and then it shows the plate numbers, whether you allow it or what the list you want to place it on. You can also create custom lists, not just allow or deny. You can certainly do that too. So we've got a couple ways to do this. You can either edit the list using the recognition configuration there, and you can use a little pencil icon next to allow, deny, custom, etc. Or you can upload a plate list using the select file option down at the bottom there. It'll have that format. Now, within Exacq Vision, once you have configured everything within the Illustra camera and you have connected it within Exacq Vision, you will then see in the Analytics tab, in addition to your regular analytics bounding boxes, you'll see some additional rules there for denied or blocked plates, watch plates, VIP list if you have an important person that is entering a certain area with their car. Then you have the option to add a VIP list, and you can configure those. You can change those based on, these are just sort of logical colors that we might associate with an allowed plate or a blocked plate. You can make, but these aren't defaults or anything. These are just sort of recommended colors. You could make the allow list hot pink if you wanted to. It's just any color on the visible spectrum, but these are just sort of examples that we've used.
Yeah, I'm gonna get these ready, connecting off some of the underside, and then
Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and mute, except I can't mute that person. Oh, no, he's good. We're good. Sorry for the distraction. All right. So we've got the ability to change the bounding boxes, and that's how it will appear in the search page. So if you see a blocked plate, it'll show like a little red bounding box. If you see a watch list, it'll be a yellow bounding box, and you can change those, transparency and that kind of thing through the Exacq interface. Now, actually searching for a specific plate number, and I'm actually going to show this here in a little bit, just because this is kind of, it's a single screenshot, kind of goes through, and I can say, click this, then click this, then click this, but it's usually, at least to me, it's helpful if I actually show how it's done. So we'll show it on this slide here, but I'll actually show it here in a little bit when I actually go and do a sort of a little mini demo of this. So searching for a specific plate number. Now, when you go to search, you'll search the LPR info like you would analytics. There's a little drop down box that becomes available, similar to analytics that are found underneath the camera. And when you do that, it populates all, if there's been any plates detected at all, you'll see all of that as little red tick marks underneath the actual video itself. You can kind of see that from the screen here. We've got blue video for motion, green for time lapse or continuous, and then beneath that we have, there's a plate detected here, a little red tick mark there. Now, that's everything. If you would like to filter by a specific plate tag, let's say that you were given, hey, maybe, oh, here's a good example. If you guys have ever gotten an Amber Alert or one of those silver alerts on your phone, it kind of, they've got a system to kind of mass text that out to people. They might have a plate there. Someone might be able to, oh, that is the plate. Okay, we can type that into the plate number there. Let's search this time frame. Let's see if that plate was ever, come across at this point. And so that will be a way to filter by a plate number. So if you have a specific plate that you're looking for, you can do that. Obviously, if it's already on the allow or deny list, you'll be able to search it that way as well. So the way that works is you search the video, you also search the corresponding LPR data. And then there's an option, once you've performed the search, you'll see an option, it's in the bottom left-hand corner, it's circled there, show filters. By default, it just shows the, it only shows the country right there. And it may or may not show depending on what's captured, the state. But you can actually click on the little edit button next to plate number. It is a little pencil icon. So you click that, or the edit button, I should say. And that will allow you to type in a plate number. Now, there's the option. So the operator, this is some sort of, I guess, sort of logic that you have to think about here. Contains is usually what you want to select. There's an option to contain, basically what this means is this part of the plate tag. We don't have to know the entire plate tag, but I know that it at least starts with, in this case, looks like you typed in BX2 there. If you know the whole plate tag, great. You could say there's also an equals operator, but if you want to return, it makes it a little bit easier to search for plates if you select contains, because it could be picky about syntax too. Maybe there's erroneous space in there that you didn't account for. So, yeah. What's up?
Justin, you may be able to use your cursor to show where on the screen you're talking about.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can actually see my cursor. So on the tree on the left-hand side, there's keyword, analytic filters, and then you've got plate number there, and then the keyword, license plate number, operator contains that's typically what you want to select as contains. So it needs to contain at least part of this number in order for it to return a result. So if you know part of the plate tag, then it'll work there in that case. So it contains part of that. So that's on the tree on the left here. And like I said, I'll show this with the Exacq Vision client here in a second, because this is kind of, like I said, it's even easier to kind of see what I'm talking about when I actually demo it. So, but that's what we're looking at there, contains part of the plate tag. And then once you hit search again, you'll see little red tick marks at the bottom of the timeline where any plates that contain, in this case, BX2, which is I think what he typed in there, will return, and you can quickly narrow down on that result. And so it's a much quicker way to search for plates if you know either all or part of a plate number. Now I will show this here in a second. Let me kind of go through some of the other slides here before we jump into the Exacq Vision client. With the plates, plate detection LPR, you can, of course, use this within the event linking page. So in this case, in this example, you can use event linking to create a notification when a blocked plate is spotted or a vehicle arrives that is on the watch or VIP list. So just like any other event, it's an if-then statement. So if this event happens, in this case, it's going to be analytics. The event source is going to be a denied plate. And then we are going to notify with LPR blocked plate, which is an email that we would have set up ahead of time. And it can even include a JPEG or a video, short video, depending on what you select within the email message profile notification. So we can set up notifications when plates are detected based on criteria, whether it's a allowed or denied plate. We can also activate IO relays. Same thing, analytics, we have an allowed plate. When that happens, we can output trigger to an open gate. We're just showing a short video here. This car pulled up, looked like it was a good plate, gate opened, and we were able to do that using the IO smart triggers from a camera. So we can output to alarms, etc., and that way we can sort of automate some vehicular access control in this case. Live event monitoring, so very similar to event linking. Event monitoring is used to real-time monitor various events. So when a denied plate shows up, we want to switch video to the LPR camera and see if it's a car we recognize or if we need to take action. In that case, we want to draw the user's attention to that that camera currently because it's just detected maybe a vehicle that's not supposed to be there. So we do have the option to use the plate detection through the live event monitoring here. And this is just an example of that live event monitoring. We're watching video. I am a security guard in a security operations center. A plate is detected. It switches to that. I see that. I see the action come up. I can acknowledge it. If I say, okay, that's fine. Once I acknowledge it, it goes back to my previous view there. And so it's just another way to, like I said, minimize incidents where, maybe a security guard has, they're not necessarily, they missed something in one of the individual panels, but if you have it pop up full screen using the event monitoring profile, it draws the user attention to that when it needs to be. So you can use this through the live event monitoring page as well. Okay, let me pull up my client. So you guys should see my client now instead of the PowerPoint slide. So I'll lead you through this. Basically what we do when we search an LPR camera, I've got the same LPR camera that was used in that example here, and I can search the video, of course. I'm gonna take away, this one actually has a couple streams set up. I'm gonna take away the low res stream. So I'm gonna search the video, and then as you can see, there's an analytics drop down beneath that camera. I don't really need to look for the other, analytics. I could look for specifically denied plates or custom plates or allowed plates, but instead what I'm going to do is I just want to see all analytic or sorry, all license plate data. So I'm just going to select LPC continuous there. I'm going to search. This is, so as you can see, it's kind of hard to see in the, might be kind of hard to see in the webinar here, but at the bottom of the screen is our video. And so beneath the video is anytime a plate is detected, there's a little, it's indicated by those little red hash marks. Now, there are several different plates here. This one that we're looking at right now has, you know, maybe we know part of this number, 46736. So it's an Illinois plate number there. So what we can do is we can show the filters on the left-hand side. And if I'm looking for a specific plate number, in this case, I know 46736 is going to pop up because we can see it right there. But let's say I didn't know that. I can click this. This is where I talked about the operator. So there's equals, does not equal, contains, does not contain. Typically, if you're searching for a plate, you select contains, except I selected the wrong one. We'll do contains. And here, I just need to type part of this. So I can type in 46736. I don't need to type that EQ part. So we'll go ahead and do that. I hit add. So it contains this number. And you can search for multiple if you want. If you want to, although it's, I think I can't remember if it's a logical or and. I'll have to figure that out. But I don't know if you can search for, like, we have two plates that we're looking for, if it'll do both, or if it messes with that and says it has to be this plate number and this plate number, in which case it wouldn't return anything. So I'll have to play with that. But in this case, I'm just going to search for any plates that contain 46736. Hit search. So you'll notice that there's a lot less red marks on the tree down at the bottom, because now I filtered it to only plates that contain that number. Now, as you probably figured out, this is a looping video, so of course it's going to come across a few times, but I'm going to zoom in on this area here and hit play, and I should see a plate with 46736 come across. And sure enough, we see it there. And so I was able to quickly pinpoint that video. Again, if you've got a parking lot where you've got cars coming in all the time, you've got potentially thousands of cars during the day, and you're looking for one specific plate, you can do that using the filter option. So we know that, let's say that we know this vehicle entered at some point, I don't know, anywhere from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m. at night. Well, we can do a search for that and we can see all the plates that were detected. But if we use the filters here and specify a plate number, that will help us narrow down our results, and we can find that plate a lot faster. So very similar to in the same vein as the analytics, it helps us narrow down our search. It allows us to perform forensic searching in a much more efficient way. So LPR allows us to look for plates. We can set up alerts when certain plates come across through the email notifications page. We can be alerted in real time using event monitoring using that. We also have the ability to trigger inputs and outputs on cameras. And so there's a lot of things you can do depending on what sort of application it is you're looking for with your LPR camera. And so it's, as you can see, we try to keep it as, I always say that with Exacq Vision, our design philosophy is to always keep it simple. So while we always are adding features to make the software more, more robust and keep it current, we still try to keep it as simple as possible. And so we try to do that with the LPR camera here by making it pretty easy to associate the camera with Exacq Vision, integrate the camera into Exacq Vision, and then searching plate tags using the filters, as you can see there. Underneath the search timeline there. Last couple slides here is reserved for the shameless sales plug here. We've got the Exacq Vision Advantage. This is if you are using Illustra Flex or Pro cameras with Exacq manufactured servers, so Gen 3 or later. We have a registration page that allows you to generate free licenses for those cameras. This is a big advantage when using the Illustra cameras with the Exacq Vision. It saves quite a bit it'll save you quite a bit and allows you to get licenses for your Illustra cameras on Exacq manufactured servers. Now, one thing I will say about this, I get some questions about this. How does this work? So you can generate the initial licenses, and while those initial licenses are free, the SSAs to renew them are not. So we do recommend that when because you might say, well, what's to stop me from generating a license for 100 cameras? You can do that. But if it comes time to renew and you're trying to renew 100 cameras as opposed to the 20 that you only have, it's going to be a little bit, obviously it's going to going to cost quite a bit more that way. We can deficit if you are in that, you can email us and we can say, okay, we'll deficit the 80 cameras, but don't do it in the future. So we do recommend that if you do use the Illustra Advantage, is to only request a license for the amount of cameras you have, or if you know that you're going to add a few in a few months, you can go ahead and generate it then. You can always regenerate the license key when you get those 5 more cameras or however many you're going to buy. But we recommend only doing the number of Illustra cameras that you have for the Illustra Advantage there. And that is the presentation. We talked about, like I said, the LPR cameras. You can use those with the Illustra Advantage as well. They count as Illustra cameras, even though they're LPR cameras. The license would still be free, and the actual LPR component is included within the cost of the camera. So there's no additional cost as far as Exacq Vision goes for that LPR feature. It's bundled with the camera, and you can use those cameras with the Illustra Advantage with Exacq Vision manufactured servers. So I don't know if there have been any questions or anything in the Q&A or chat, but we'll keep it open for a couple minutes. If anyone has any questions, I want to make sure you guys have your questions answered in regards to the LPR cameras.
James, I have a quick question. How do you
Yeah.
add or subtract or modify? You set the system up and there's a new license plate that I want to put in the deny list or watch list or the VIP list. How does that work?
So if I go back, since I don't have the LPR camera itself with me, but let me show you, where was it? Hold on. So on this page where you go to license plate recognition, you create these lists, allow, deny, or custom, whatever. You can initially upload a plate list, or you can, let's say I want to add a plate, I know a new plate and I want to add that to the deny list. There's a little pencil icon underneath edit here. You just click that, and then you can type in the plate number, and it then adds that to the deny list. So you can edit it as you go along, or you can upload a new list down at the bottom with this format that you see on the right-hand side here. It's just a plate followed by comma, allow, or deny. And you can do it that way. So you'd have to type it up in Notepad ahead of time or copy paste it from somewhere. But yeah, you either edit an existing list or upload a new list, and it'll add that to a new plate list, and then that'll pop up in Exacq Vision, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
James, I think that was fantastic. As always, you were very thorough. So I do not see any questions coming in or any comments in the chat. I'm happy to keep it open with you here for a couple minutes. I will point out before everyone goes, we've got 3 more webinars coming up in this Exacq series. July 16th, we will cover event linking and event monitoring for real-time awareness in Exacq VMS. On August 20th, we will cover enterprise visitor management, the EM software that's a part of our enterprise licensing suite with Exacq VMS. And on September 17th, we're going to talk about our archiving options for both on-premise and cloud through Exacq. So those would be some things that you can access on TPI's website on our webinar page. Those would be our upcoming topics to look forward to. I'm going to go ahead and close the webinar and recording here. Please, if you have any questions or opportunities that you'd like to consider Illustra LPR for, reach out to your TPI rep. Thank you for joining us today.